So I've made this video a while back about how you can sell cash secured puts in your TFSA or basically any registered account. For some reason, I still get questions and objections as in you cannot sell puts in a TFSA. So I thought I'd maybe redo the video and maybe just try to explain it better. So yes, you cannot sell puts in a TFSA or in a registered account. But you could do something else that is completely equivalent, completely does the same thing. So let me use Paint here to try to explain it. So when you sell a put, let's say the stock is trading at 100 and you sell, I don't know, a 90 put. Okay, so you're selling a 90 put, and let's say you collect $2 to sell that 90 put. So it's a minus 90 because you're selling it. You collected $2. So what you want to win, so either there's two things can happen from this position. Either the stock at expiry will be above 90 or it will be below 90. It can't be at both places at the same time. So if your goal is to collect premiums and the stock ends up being above 90, then your option of $2 that you collected $2 is going to be worthless, and then your profit is the premium that you collected. If your goal is to sell premium or sell a put so that eventually you want to own 100 shares of the stock at $90, well, for that to happen, the stock would have to be below 90 at expiry. So if the stock is above 90, you will not own shares. So no shares. If the stock is below 90 and you don't roll the put, then you will own 100 shares. So that's in the case of a cash secured put. And the capital required to sell a cash secured put is basically 100 times the strike that you choose. So the capital required to sell this 90 put will be 100 times 90, so 9,000. So 9,000 is the capital required to sell this cash secured put. And obviously you're collecting $2, so $200 comes into your account. So it's actually $8,800. So we agree that if the stock is above 90, no shares. If the stock is below 90 at expiry and I don't roll my put, I'm going to own 100 shares at 90. So let's look at the example of a in the money covered call, which I'm saying does the exact same thing. So because you can't sell a cash secured put in a registered account, I'm saying that you could do the exact same thing with an in the money covered call. So once again, if the stock's trading at 100, sorry, that's a zero, and you want to sell a cash secured put at a 90 strike, but you can't because you're in a registered account. What you can do instead is buy 100 shares of the stock at $100. So you can buy 100 shares times $100. That's going to require $10,000 of capital. But then you could sell the 90 call. Instead of selling the 90 put, because you can't, you're going to sell the 90 call. So you buy 100 shares and then you're going to sell the 90 call. Now, if we're looking at the same underlying, this call is going to end up being worth about $12. So if you sell that 90 call for $12, what happens is you're going to collect $1,200. So your $10,000 minus the $1,200 puts you at $8,800. Now, two things can happen. Either the stock will be above 90 or the stock will be below 90 at expiry. If the stock is above 90 at expiry, you're going to end up losing your shares. So the 100 shares that you bought over here, you're going to end up losing it at 90 strike, at a 90 price, because you sold a short call. So if you lose your shares at 90, so if the stock's above 90 at expiry, you no longer have shares. So once again, above 90, no shares. You end up losing your shares at 90, but you only paid $8,800. You only got in for $88. So 90 minus 88 equals your $2 profit that you would have gotten if you had sold the 90 put for $2 and the stock ended up being above 90. So at the end, it's the same thing. You're left in the same situation. The stock's above 90, no shares, and your profit is $2. Now, what happens if the stock is below 90? So if the stock is below 90 in the case of an in-the-money covered call, you're going to end up owning the shares. You still have the shares. You don't lose them. So you keep your 100 shares. But your cost is still 88 because you collected $1,200 of premiums right over here. When you sold the 90 call, you collected $1,200 of premium. So you own shares, but you collected $1,200. So your net cost is 88. Same thing if you had the put and the stock was below 90 at expiry, you would end up owning the stock at $90 because your put is in the money. And that $2 that you collected from the put option puts your net cost of the 100 shares at 88. So it's the same situation, same scenario at the end. So if you want to sell cash secured puts to own shares in your registered account, but you think that you can't, it's true, you can't sell puts, but you can do something that's very similar. That is an in the money covered call. So pick the strike that you were going to sell a put on, just do the same thing, but with a call. And yes, you're going to end up owning shares. You're going to end up buying the shares up front, but it's the same thing at the end, because if you're confident that the stock stays above your short strike, then you'll lose your shares in the case of the in-the-money covered call. And in terms of capital required, the capital required for a cash secured put is 100 times the strike. So it's the same thing as the capital required for a covered call. So I'm saying here an in-the-money covered call is equivalent to an out-of-the-money put in this scenario. Now, there are situations where you won't get the exact same price. That's if there's a put skew or a call skew. So the puts are worth more than the calls, or vice versa, if the calls are worth more than the puts. In fact, if the calls are worth more than the puts, then an in-the-money covered call will benefit you because you can collect more premium from the call side. So your break even will be further away than if you had sold the cash secured put. So my break even in the case of a covered call or an in-the-money covered call that I sell at a 90 strike is $88. That's my break even because I paid $100. I paid $100, but I collected $12 from the call that I sold at a 90 strike. So that puts me at 88 break even. If I sell the cash secured put, I'm selling at a 90 strike and I collected $2 from the put option that I'm selling. That puts me again at 88 break even. And if the stock is above 90 strike in either scenario, the end result is the same. If the stock is below 90 strike in either scenario, the end result is the same. So let's look at an example. Just pick the random stock here, Etsy. So let's say I wanted to go to July 16. I want to sell a put on Etsy. So if I want to sell the 145 put, you could see that it's trading at around let's take the last price, $3.27. So that puts my break even at 145, which is my put, minus $3.27. So that's my break even, 141.73. Now let's go see if we can do the covered call at the same strike of 145. So if I pick covered call here, stock's at 164, 145. So you can see that the 145 strike, I could pay to get into the trade somewhere in between 141.25 and 142. So about 141.6. So my break even, if I sell the in-the-money covered call, is about 141.6. And same thing, if the stock stays above 145, I lose my shares at 145 because that's the definition of a covered call. If the call is in the money at expiry, I lose my shares at 145, but that's okay. I keep the difference. My net debit of 141.6 minus 145, that's my profit. So I don't care if I lose my shares at 145 because it's what I wanted. That was my intention because it's equivalent to selling a cash secured put. If I go back to the put and I sell the 145 put for July 16, I collect $3.27. If the stock is above 145, I don't own shares. I don't get assigned shares, and I keep the profit or the premium of $3.27. That becomes my profit. If the stock is below 145, I'm going to get assigned shares. In the case of the covered call, I'm going to end up keeping my shares. So the only difference is I start off with shares and I lose my shares, but the end result is the same. In the case of a put, I don't have shares, but I'm going to get assigned shares. So that's one way of selling cash secured puts in a registered account. It works well as long as there is no obvious put or call skew. And obviously, because the call's in the money, the spread might be a little bit wider. So you might not get there might be a little bit of spoilage, but not a lot. Now, in terms of taxes or rules, are you allowed to sell in the money covered calls in a TFSA? I'm not sure, but I don't think it's wrong. I don't think it's considered day trading because you're not allowed to day trade in a TFSA, but selling an in the money covered call would not be considered day trading in my opinion. So I think it's okay. It all depends on your intention, of course. You're not allowed to generate a business income in a TFSA, but if it's considered a capital gain, then it's fine. All right, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave in the comment section below. I hope I was clear. I know the paint job here wasn't so good, but it's the only way I know that I can write digitally. Like always, if you can open an account with Questrade to trade on the stock market and sell options, use my referral link below to get $50 in free commissions. Also, check out the other referral links below. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button, share with a friend, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.